All of us. There is nobody who has been living in Tobago for the last 3, 4, 5 years who does not know the process that will have led to the present state we are with the Tobago House of Assembly Act. It was a process that involved all of us all the time. It was a process whereby on a motion brought to the House by Mr. Ashworth Jack as minority leader, and which was amended in the House and approved by the whole House, we decided that we are going to be, the committee that we had set up is going to review the Tobago House of Assembly Act and the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago as it affects the Tobago House of Assembly Act. Mr. Sandy was there. Mr. Sandy was on one of the first committees on which Mr. Jack and Dr. Devines operated. So they were in the process from the very beginning. And that process involved groups, it involved individuals from all over Tobago. The John Prince Committee, including people of the caliber of Easton Mackenzie, Rita Pemberton, Carlos Dillon, went throughout the length and breadth of Tobago. At one point in time, your own Mr. Collis Hayes and Earl and Kent were members of that committee. And they went through the length and breadth of Tobago, getting the views of Tobagonians. Nobody tried to dominate them. Anybody who knows Easton Mackenzie, tell me any human being in Tobago, in the country, in the world could dominate Easton Mackenzie? Tell me. That is why we selected people like her. And then the committee went further. They say, okay. And Dr. Mack tell me, he said, all the politicians like to fight, all come and fight in Mount Irving. And they invited all of us to Mount Irving. Ashworth Jack was there with Dr. Davidson, who was once your representative. I was there with the late Frank Roberts. COP was represented. Winston Murray was there. And we talked and we argued for 2 days. And then they drafted something and we came back in November, I think, or December of 2009. And after those discussions, we said, listen, we can agree on these things we can agree on, those things we could agree on, let's put it in a communique. We put it in a communique. It was signed by Orville, London, and Ashworth Jack. The signature is there. I have the document. I can pass it around to all of you. It's in my car. Ashworth Jack and Orville, London. And what happened? I only signed, he signed and put the date. Yeah? No, it's there. And yet, at the end of that exercise, we say, who is the person best suited to translate the views of Tobagonians into law? The best lawyer in the land who also happens to be a Tobagonian, Russell Martineau. So we say, give Russell. And Russell Martineau, although he's good, he understands. Russell Martineau brought in the person who is supposed to be the best drafter who ever passed through this region, former Justice Monica Barnes. So between Martineau and Barnes, they produced the document which is now before us. The document which is now before us is not a final document, it's a draft. And it is a draft of the Tobago House of Assembly Act and a draft on amendments to the Constitution as it will affect the Act and the Act will affect the Constitution. All of that was made public. And now we have a situation where the copies of those amendments will be made available to all Tobagonians so that we can sit down as sensible, logical individuals, look at it, and then Russell Martineau is going to come and take us through the Act. We will quarrel, we will discuss, it will be explained to us, we will make recommendations, and as a result of those recommendations, we will then have a final draft prepared by Russell Martineau, which will go to the Assembly for debate and then sent to the Cabinet and then to Parliament. You know what these people want to do? They want to throw away all of that. They want to throw away Easton Mackenzie, John Prince, Rita Pemberton, Carlos Dillon, Russell Martineau, and Monica Barnes. They want to throw away all of that, the work of all of that. But more importantly, the work of all of us. All the time that we spend in meetings, all the time that we spend discussing and arguing and so on. And what and who are they replacing it with? You know who they're replacing all of them people with? Vishnu Ramlogan. So you're throwing away Russell Martineau, you're throwing away Monica Banks, you're throwing away Easton Mackenzie, you're throwing away Rita Pemberton, and you're now going to replace them with Anand Ramlogan. Anand Ramlogan, who quite rightly our political leader says is a threat to public order. That is the man. That is the man whom our minority leader and his colleagues in the TOP are going to decide that this is the man whom they are going to put the fate of Tobago and entrust the future of our children and grandchildren. And I'm saying we in the PNM and we in Tobago East and Tobago West and all of Tobago must say with one resounding voice, not in Tobago. Not in Tobago. Because you see, brothers and sisters, a lot of times we get sidetracked because they're clever. And they treat disrespect in a way that we get caught up with the issues and we lose sight of the disrespect. Because I want to say to the people of Tobago and East and the people of Roxburgh, Delaford and the people of Tobago, the issue is not primarily about whether we have early elections or not. Anytime they call election, PNM ready. Let them know that we're ready. That is not the issue. The issue is disrespect and dishonesty. The issue is disrespect for the law, the rule of law. It's disrespect for the institution called the Tobago House of Assembly. It's disrespect for the members of the John Prince Committee and all the eminent Tobagonians who have contributed. It's disrespect to every single one of us who would have contributed to that exercise and every single one of us who would have agreed to that exercise. It's disrespect for the institution called the Tobago House of Assembly, and it is disrespect for the process. It is disrespect for the tradition on which the democracy of Trinidad and Tobago was built. Because I say to you, brothers and sisters, look at the reasoning. We move from colonialism to independence. No election. Constitution change. We move from independence to republicanism. No election. Constitution change. We move and we had the 1980 Tobago House of Assembly Act. New act. No election. 1996. And I want to put the record straight. Because you know, a lot of times there are people who give information that is inaccurate. Let me be generous, inaccurate. But you put it out in the public domain with so much confidence that people believe that it is true. I am saying to you this evening, and spread the word, that there is a perception that in 1996, the Tobago House of Assembly elections took place after the act. Very far from the truth. The Tobago House of Assembly elections, and I will know, because it's an election that I will never forget. It's an election that I lost by 4 votes. So if it's one man going to remember that election, it's me. And all of us who remember that election, remember that it was what, either in January or February of 1996. I want, when you go home, to take out, those of you who have a Tobago House of Assembly Act. The Tobago House of Assembly Act was in fact passed by the President, I think it's on the 9th of December 1996, more than 10 months after the Tobago House of Assembly election. So in other words, you actually had a situation where the election took place and then the act changed about 10 months after, and all they did is that they had something called a miscellaneous provisions, and that miscellaneous provision said that, listen, all the assemblymen will retain their thing and so on and so forth. That's all that was necessary. So I'm just saying to you that we are not afraid of election. That is not the issue. The issue is that if you allow people to get away with breaking the law in 2011, they're going to break the law in 2021, they're going to break the law in 2012. And if they break the law to benefit you today, they're going to break the law to destroy you tomorrow. And that is the reality. Because we're talking about people who have demonstrated that they love nobody, that they are intent on taking over Tobago. Tobago is the last one, the last frontier, and they will do anything to get it. But I'm saying that they will not be able to succeed if Tobagonians continue saying it loud and clear, not in Tobago. That is the story. Because you see, you don't understand. Look at Gypsy. And this thing contagious, you know. The disrespect is contagious. I used to love Gypsy. And I still do as a calypsonian. He is excellent. I just like him. There's some tunes every time I hear him sing it, I had to, in my own little way, try to sing along. Man good. But Gypsy has to understand that you can't extempo politics. You can't extempo. Gypsy is indulging in extempo administration. And you can't have extempo administration. Administration by definition, especially when you're dealing with the lives of people, when you're dealing with development, when you're dealing with making policy, cannot be extempo. And Gypsy wants to extemporize with Tobago and Tobago's development. And we in Tobago, we must tell him loud and clear, not in Tobago. Not in Tobago. Because listen to this story. Listen to this story. Gypsy comes to Tobago. And before he meets with the assembly, he said he bring in Carnival in Tobago. So I said, well, that can't be serious. Anyhow, he comes to the meeting, and if nothing else, your chief secretary is a gentleman. So I greeted him nicely, we sat and we chatted and so on. But we made it very clear to him, your own Mrs. Tracy Davis and Celestine was there. We made it very clear to him, listen brother, you understand and so on. What you're saying it has some merit, but there are challenges, there are disadvantages. And the point about it, we have been down this road before, we tried it, there's a reason why we stopped it, and therefore let us not make any decision at this point in time. However, we made it very clear to him at that meeting that the decision is not yours, it is ours. We welcome your intervention, we welcome your recommendation, but in the final analysis, we'll take it on board, we will talk again and we will discuss. And he goes away. And I said, well, the thing gone away with him. But the next thing I know, I read it on papers, and this man gone down in Chaguanas and give a long speech. Carnival in October in Tobago. Save your costume and come in Tobago. And to clinch it all, he making the point that advertisement starting next month. And nobody in Tobago don't know anything. So I am saying that I am putting it down to one of those, extempo lines that just didn't catch on. You understand? And therefore, I want to just reiterate, and I think all of us have got to understand, that it cannot happen without the Tobago House of Assembly making the decision. We take everything on board. And it's very interesting that is coming at a point in time when we have just set up a Tobago Heritage Commission. And one of the reasons why we set up the Tobago Heritage Commission is to ensure that we are able to synchronize all the activities that Tobago are going in Tobago and embellish them and develop them and market them in a way that you can bring optimum benefit to Tobago. So that this is no time for extempo administration. We are now trying to have focused administration, where you're able to now plan in a manner that you're able to predict how things are going to happen. And you're bringing in extempo administration. It is not going to work. But you see, outside of the extempo administration is the whole question of disrespect. That is the word, disrespect.